Hey, it's Gary Schuster, your friendly neighborhood inventor. Welcome to another episode of the Innovation Cafe. So today I want to talk about one of my first patents, and it was for something called CleanNet. It was sort of an internal name, but it was designed to keep a network clean of files that were not desirable to have on there. What's cool about this is this invention was really I had some little forays into inventing, but this was the first time that I faced a real world problem in my life as a lawyer that I solved with my life as an inventor. So I had just left a big law firm, big New York firm. I was in their LA office, and I went up to the Bay Area to work with a startup. And I was the lawyer for the startup, and it took me a couple months to get everything cleaned up, and I get all the legal stuff handled and in the proper buckets and categories. And then I found that without the piled up legal work, I was only busy maybe half time. Now, around the same time, we were starting to have a problem. We were doing free web hosting, and this was 1998, 1999. And free web hosting was kind of a new thing. I mean, if you remember GeoCities, no longer around, but there were a lot of free web hosts like that out there. So, we created a free web hosting service, and I didn't know this, but thanks to that free web hosting service and the fact that I was the lawyer for the company, I would become really close friends. I'm not kidding. I actually know all about his kids and his life with the guy from United States Customs Service, and that was before the Department of Homeland Security and everything. This was this was back when it was just U.S. Customs, and I was friends with him because he would call and he'd say, we've got this problem where someone has uploaded the following types of files to your system. And I mean, there was also copyright stuff. And, one time, as crazy as it seems, people were insane back then. Not like they've gotten any saner, but literally once got a call from the San Jose Police Department, and they said, you're hosting pictures of a murder scene. I'm like, are you kidding me? What, really? So someone had created a free website, and a woman who was having an affair had the guy she's having an affair with kill her husband, and she took pictures, and then they uploaded them. So of course I cooperated with U.S. Customs, but what was starting to happen was, I get the call from U.S. Customs, I get the call from San Jose Police, and I'd call up our customer service people, or I'd usually actually walk over there and say, we got this call. I need you to gather all the data on the website, package it up, put it on a DVD. Customs will be by later to pick it up, or the San Jose Police will be by later to pick it up. And we started to get people who kind of wanted to quit. And I got to say, I kind of wanted to quit having to deal with that kind of stuff. I decided we got to get this stuff off of our servers. We can't have it. People would keep coming back because it's a free web hosting service. So you create a website, you upload, and let's just, for the sake of having something that's more palatable to talk about, let's talk about copyright infringement. Before the Digital Millennium Copyright Act changed it with the notice and takedown requirements. So let's imagine that you have 10 Beatles songs that someone's uploaded, right? You don't want those on your servers. But what happens is you take them down and they create another website on your servers and re-upload them. And it's like whack-a-mole. You're taking them down, they put them back up. You're taking them down, they put them back up. And so I came up with this idea of uniquely fingerprinting the files. And you would use the fingerprinted image to find if they had re-uploaded the image to the servers again. I mean, it's a very simple concept, but it really, really worked. And, they sort of figured out there are some workarounds to it, like, if you change enough in the file, the fingerprint won't match. And so then, I started to do a guilt by association thing where if, an MP3 file showed up next to 10 Beatles MP3s enough times, I'd start to score it. And so the system actually would score it and say, well, that's kind of bad. That's pretty bad. That's really, you must be copyright infringement. And so then it would add it to the list of files that weren't allowed. So that was actually a very efficient system. No one had come up with it before. I was able, by the way, to get a patent on it. I wrote all the code for it. But ultimately, this was because we had a legal problem that we couldn't solve, right? And I did try to solve it with litigation originally. So we had someone who was uploading. We also didn't allow adult content on there. So this having nothing to do with U.S. Customs, there was someone uploading to our site, and this was not good. We did not want that there. And, we're trying to sell ads to family-friendly companies, and they didn't want their banner ad running on a page of that stuff. So we ran into one group out of Florida that was persistently uploading. We take it down, they re-upload, we take it down, they re-upload. And so before I wrote the software and created the invention that solved it technically, I sued them in Florida. It's what I knew, right? When you have a hammer, everything's a nail. When you have a law degree and a license, everything's a lawsuit. So I sued them. Had to get creative for serving them because they were evading service of process, but finally got them served, and nothing happened. That is another one of the reasons that we end up with this solution. So it's a cool solution. It's all done in code. And now here's where I told you there's going to be some overlap between legal and invention stuff. So I had a legal problem that I couldn't solve legally, so I solved it with technology. Decide, okay, this is pretty cool. This is new technology. I should get this patented. And so I filed for a patent on it. And I was very new to patents at the time. And yes, I went to law school. Yes, I had a law license, but I was not a patent lawyer. I'd litigated patent cases before, but that's different than getting a patent issued. So I send the patent disclosure and all the code to the lawyer, and I say, okay, get me a patent on this. This is where I tell you why it's really critical that your patent lawyer know your business. I mean, and I'll do a whole episode on how to pick a patent lawyer, and it's a long-term relationship. They have to be able to read your mind more or less as to what you mean. But at the time, I send everything off to the patent lawyer and say, get a patent on it. And a few years later, because patent offices, at least in the U.S., the patent office works at it might lose a race with a glacier. Put it that way, glacially slow. So we get the office action back. And say, we've got great news. We have a notice of allowance. This was after a couple of rejections. And I'm like, oh, amazing. I read the claims. Now, the patent claims are the things that are actually protected. So the entire patent application is like a paper that you get published. It's a teaching document. It teaches other people how to build the invention. But the patent claims, that's like the claim that you have, the deed to your house, right? It's like, this is what you own. Here's this border of it. Here's that border. Here's that border. Here's that border. You own that space. That's what a patent claim does. So if it's not in the patent claim, it is nothing you own. A federal circuit judge famously said the name of the game is the claim, and it's true. So I'm reading the patent claims, and I'm like, this can't be that he did this. Well, yeah, he did. It says in there, you read the first 1,024 bytes of the file, and you generate one checksum. Then you read the first 10,240 bytes of the file, you generate another checksum. Each checksum is 1 in a trillion, so the chance of a false positive is 1 in a trillion. And the idea behind only reading the first 10K of the file was back then, computers were slower, storage was slower, and I couldn't have a high impact on the system without being very costly. So I decided, well, it'd be better to just checksum the first 10K. I mean, that's all you need. So this led to people doing workarounds like, you put a picture of a kitten in there, and then beyond the end of file marker, you put, a copy of Microsoft Word or some other pirated thing. So there were some workarounds to it. But the point is, that should never have been in the claim, right? And I needed to read the claim carefully before he filed on it, because he should never have said in a claim that was limited in that way to literally reading the first 1K and the first 10K of the file, because it's very easy to work around. Read the whole file and checksum it. Technology got there eventually to where you can do that. So, it was not a very effective claim. It would be almost impossible to infringe. So it's like, no wonder it was that easy to get the patent issued. The examiner probably looked at it and thought, yeah, that's going to be really difficult for someone to infringe. They're going to have to actually rip off your code. Now, there is a point to doing that sometimes, which is if you have software that's in wide circulation and the software works in a certain way, if you want, and say it works by reading the first 1K and the first 10K, well, if that software was in wide circulation, you could make a patent claim for someone running it unlicensed and a copyright claim. You could make both claims. So there are some narrow circumstances where it makes sense. Did not make sense here. So you could see how in this one story, right, we got a legal problem, come up with a technical solution, which is like the holy grail for me. Oh man, I solved it. And literally, I used to go to sleep and I'd wake up in the morning and the software would tell me, today I turned in 10 people to United States Customs Service. Here's where the data went. Here, I've deleted it now from our servers. And it was pretty awesome. It was automated. I went to Russia for a visit way back then, and I was gone for 2 weeks. And I was literally able to manage that from cafes in Russia on a server farm, because it would just sort of run on its own. It was a very efficient program. So I solved the legal problem, and it was a beautiful, elegant solution. But that was the fun part, right? The fun part was coming up with the solution and coding it and see if it works, and realizing, wow, I solved this problem. And then the really hard part was, now how do I turn it into intellectual property that I can actually monetize in some way? And that is it's a big part of inventing. Is it's fun to invent, but it's also kind of crucial to earn a living and feed your family. So you have to go through the legal hoops at the end after you did the fun inventing part. So in one story we see my transition from lawyer to inventor, and we see the stages of innovation, which is you identify the problem, you come up with a solution, and then for years you fight over whether you get patents on it. So hopefully that wasn't too distressing to people to hear that there's a not fun lawyer part of this, but there is. I mean, there are lawyers involved. And that's just what you get when you have intellectual property. So thank you for listening. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'd love to talk more with you about innovation, and maybe some more about how the innovative mind thinks. We can look forward to future episodes talking about how the subconscious is really the engine of innovation for human brains. But for now, this has been your friendly neighborhood inventor, Gary Schuster, with Innovation Cafe, signing off. Thank you.